5-star advantage is simply this: it's safety, innovation, performance, resale value, and a peace of mind. Everything we do falls under that umbrella. It's all encompassing, and it really defines who we are. Now we break that down even further and call it Inside the Ride. When we take people inside our story, really break down the philosophy and show why we believe and why we know that a Ranger is the best product on the market, period.
Before Ranger even built its first saltwater boat, it had the input from pros for years that have been fishing both crossover, fresh and salt, and that were true saltwater guides. They wanted to be the best right off the mark.
The folks up at Ranger listen to all the angler input. It's channeled to the president of the company. It funnels down through all the departments, and you can tell that their pursuit of perfection is just relentless.
We're here inside the plant. We're in the laminating area right now, and we're looking at a hull that's almost entirely laid up, obviously without the stringers and transom, but it'll be pulled from the mold fairly soon. But let me just talk to you about from square one, how we develop and how we get to this point. And of course, you know, having been involved on the developmental side, we go outside and listen to fishermen. We solicit input. We'll build a mule occasionally and put it out there and see if our theory is sound and if it works. But that's the first thing. You have the concept, you try to fill the need of the fisherman. Then we come back here and build what we call a master. And that will be an exact representation of what we want that boat to look like. This is a scale model, and that's a master. So this is a hull you're looking at saying that's a black hull turned upside down. That is a solid chunk of wood as we start. And when we get this to this point, we will cast a mold off of it. Here's a mold, and actually it came right off of that plug. We do all of our own engineering here in-house. It's not farmed out. We have a full-time engineering staff, and we build our own molds. This is built or laminated much in the same way you see the boats being built today, using obviously different materials with different parameters. But as that mold is built and we pull that off of the master or the plug, now we have a mold, and we highly polish that. Once the mold is completed, it's hard for someone that hasn't seen our operation to really get in their head how a boat is built, but the painting is done first, or the gel coating we call it. So the gel coat is laid into the mold, and we have numerous colors and almost an infinite number of options. So that's laid in, depending on the customer preference, into the mold. All the masking is done.
It's just amazing that someone can do that by hand and get that almost perfect every time.
Well, it is a fine art, and it's one of the things that makes a Ranger, as you say. A very unique look, and you can individualize to where there's almost no two alike. And then we start out with a series of lamination process. That lamination varies depending on the boat, of course, and the size of the engine and how we want to engineer that hull. Suffice it to say that the laminate is built from the gel coat inward, and once we get that hull to that point, we will go back and put in all of those stiffeners and those strategic locations, and then we will pull it from the mold, which is pretty easily demonstrated here. As we pop that out and put air in between the hull and the mold, blowing it around the surface, it will part. We'll raise the mold and hull off of the ground, and then actually the boat will remain in the air and the mold will ease down to the ground. So a Ranger is born. We're looking at a hull with the stringers just laying in there now for the visual, but this is a Z21i, so you guys are pretty familiar with that model.
A lot of experience in this boat.
Yeah. What I want to show you here is we call it pultrusion material. We actually have a patented process, and it started back on the transom. With these high horsepower outboards, it's crucial that you put a transom in, that's as strong as the rest of the components. And I'll show you what pultrusion is. You can see it here, but it may not be self-explanatory. There are multiple layers. All of these layers are fiberglass, and they're stress directed. We put various materials in. Those are run through a heated die, so they're thermal cured. And when it comes out, we've got a cross section of the exact material that we want. We build angles, HB, we build all sorts of profiles for various parts of the boat. This entire floor is 1/8 inch pultruded fiberglass. So there's absolutely no wood anywhere in the boat, none. And when you hear the word composite, you think a composite can be anything. We've tested the pultrusion against virtually everything. It's not only used in the floor and the transom, but for screw holding ability. We've been talking about the hull here mainly, but the decks are built the same way, just on the other side of the plant. So when we're talking about one part, we're talking about both of them. And the hull and decks come together then when a deck is removed from its mold and the hull from its mold. We put those two together in a way that we call interlock. Interlock means that when we put the hull and deck together, or any other major parts, for example, they're never intended to come apart, and they don't. It gives you that one-piece feel. Again, part of our 5-star advantage is, the innovation and the performance. They say beauty skin deep, ugly goes to the bone. This beauty goes all the way to the hull on this thing. And the more we dig back, peel back the layers, we see really the uniqueness of a Ranger. We're seeing the deck being turned over for the last time before we put the two parts together. We'll put foam in those crevices and places that we can't get to when the boat is in the upright position. And also we'll be prepping this boat, hoses, various fittings, and then we'll be turning it back over and dropping it down on the hull.
What's truly unique about Ranger is that it's a true manufacturing facility where all the parts aren't accumulated from other places and just assembled here. Every piece is built right here.
Well, that's a good observation. We build our own trailers, we build our own upholstery, we build all the storage boxes. Virtually everything you see here, we farm out nothing. So it's built and delivered to the line so that we can get the exacting standards that we demand. We have product improvement teams that are continually looking at every little aspect. Again, that's part of our 5-star advantage.
The innovation part.
The innovation part. You're exactly right. Obviously put in the hulls, so we're going to get a chance to see one put together. And the hull's parked under the deck. We lower the deck right down into place. This is a 173 a Ghost looks like.
This is one of my favorite hulls here. It's the hull I actually fell in love with when we first got here because it was a type of boat that could do almost anything I needed it to do. Go shallow, gave me enough range. Affordability was a big deal then too.
Well, there's the boat. Once this is put together and they'll pin it, there's no going back now. They can't take it apart. We'll start putting foam in, laminating in the areas that we can reach to fasten the deck to the hull. One unique thing we do is that integral to this, the tubing, the chasers for the wiring. There absolutely no wiring is done on this before the two halves go together. And we do that for one reason, serviceability. We wire them after the fact so we know that the customer in time, if there's any additional equipment added, we have those chasers embedded in the foam, and it's doable. So many times the wiring is done and it's virtually impossible to get to, but not on the Ranger. We do absolutely every bit of it once the parts are put together. We'll go across the wall to the finish area where we're putting all the hardware on, electronics, the whole,
the cool stuff.
Exactly.
Let's go see it.
Okay, good. Generally, a boat's going to spend a couple of days in here in its finishing operation. And what we're doing here is putting in the electrical system, hydraulics, trim tabs, pumps, all of those things. We build our own wiring harnesses, which are delivered just across the aisle here on a just-in-time basis. Takes the guesswork out of that part of it too, because we tailor-make that to that serial number. So, depends on the hardware and the equipment on the boat. We'll build it just exactly like it is ordered, and it'll be the same, tin to copper, some of those things that you don't really think about necessarily, and all of the attention to detail that we give. It all comes together right here.
Yeah, with quality control, and it gets back to customer service because you're keeping track of the hull number. If the customer has a problem with that particular boat, they make one phone call, they can go right to that, figure out what parts are in it, what wiring harness, instantly the guy's satisfied.
We do, and you know that's part of having all the operation under one roof and being around all of these years. I mean, we do have great systems, but it always comes back to one thing, and that's people and the quality of the people that we have. And you know, we've always said that we have people that do a good job because they want to, and they're it's a passion. You know, building Ranger boats is a passion. We're really proud when we stick that Ranger name on. We know that that's going to an individual somewhere, someplace that in many cases has waited a long time for that opportunity, and we certainly don't want to disappoint them. So, you know, I think just some of the feedback after we've been through the plant from y'all, what are you seeing?
The tour enlightens you so you understand what the quality of the boat is, how safe they are, how well constructed they are. I mean, really, can anyone get a tour of the plant?
They can. It's part of Inside the Ride. If you can't physically come and take a tour, then you can go to our website, and we show you a lot of the things that we've seen today, which I think people will find very interesting. We're at the end of the line now. You've seen how the boats are put together. The point I want to make here is that point in the 5-star advantage of safety. We put the boat in without the drain plug, not the flotation test here, but I want you to know that that's done on every boat. Every model we build has been flotation tested. They exceed U.S. Coast Guard regulations, and a 20-footer is where the Coast Guard stops on many of the flotation standards. We go all the way up, all through our line, 24-footer. So they all do the same thing.
So the same flotation in every Ranger model.
That's right. And it gives you that one-piece feel. Flotation does so much more. You know, it goes around the bait well, keeps the bait alive, it keeps the fish in better shape, it quietens the boat down, and most of all, if you experience some of those conditions that we don't plan for, then you're secure there too.
You don't have to abandon ship.
Exactly. We have upright level flotation, which simply means that if that's in the swamp condition, that boat will remain when it's in the static float plane, it will remain upright and level with the drain plugged out. We got a 22 Bay Ranger out of the test tank. It's in the final preparations to shipping. Put a shrink wrap cover on, put it on the Ranger Trail trailer that has been being built for it just up the road here. It'll be put on our transportation system and hauled to the dealer that has ordered it. People dream about owning a Ranger boat, and that's a fact, and we don't take it lightly, I'll tell you for sure. So, you know, someone's going to be very proud of this, just as proud as we are to deliver it.
And the durability and reliability of these boats, even down the line, will help the customer with resale value.
Part of our 5-star advantage, resale value, what we call pride of ownership. And we don't want to forget that in this tour. Pride of ownership. When you got a Ranger, your expectations are high, and we want to deliver. There's a lot of pride in building the product. There's an equal amount of pride and a high expectation of ownership in a Ranger boat.
That's what 40 years of tradition will do for you.
It really does. We stay real focused, and we appreciate you guys coming and sharing what we love to do. And I hope to get out there with you someday again and see if we can stretch a string.
I know I'm proud of my Ranger, Andy.
Thank you, guys.
I was really impressed.
Appreciate you.
Really impressed.